Look at the very first build I ever did, that I ever built. Oh, I legit ruined this PCB because at the time I had no idea what I was doing. So this is more of like a reflection of like things that I've learned. So this PCB, although it looks okay, all of these pads are basically ruined. I mean, I don't even know if it will show up on camera. It looks fine on camera. That's the best worst part. But in reality, deep down inside, these pads are ruined. Yeah, Discord, impressionable person, and I thought that the best switches were Holy Pandas. Well, hence why this is made with Holy Pandas. I think these are made with round 1 mass drop Holy Pandas. And I was like, oh yeah, brass looks cool. 5 ml brass? How this could never sound bad. And now looking back at it, man, it doesn't sound that good. Because the brass is too heavy. It's too much. It's too loud. Even outside of a board, sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm memeing you. It's not 5 ml, but that's how it feels. So even without a board, it sounds so loud. I've learned a lot from after building this. I learned that like maybe this isn't the best combination, having an extremely loud switch. Did I clean them? I think I want to believe I did. I don't remember. Anyways, but that was when I remembered when I was first learning how to build a keyboard, and this was my first board. Yeah, so I didn't know anything about keyboards at the time, so I thought this was like peak optimal build, and it really wasn't. This is also the heaviest board I own at the moment. So pure aluminum, extremely heavy brass plate. So when I was really impatient when I initially bought my first keyboard. So I bought the first thing I saw in stock, and this was unironically the first thing I had in stock. I feel like the key here is to like get a softer switch for brass and then get harsher switches for softer metals. Maybe it's like a yin yang thing. You have to have the harsher your switch sounds, the softer your material needs to be. So here's an immediate example I can provide to you. This is also built with Holy Pandas, but this is on the ABS plate, and it sounds much nicer. Sorry, PBT plate. My bad. This board actually has some mad flex because of how soft the plate is. Like, I can really... Oh, actually, you can't see it on camera. So if you look closely, you can see, like, as I push, the whole board warps, which is a good thing. So, like, basically it helps absorb some of the sharp kickback that the Holy Pandas normally have. So if I press, like, the middle row here, like J, and then I press it on the other side here on a Holy Panda, on brass, you can just hear like how snappy and sharp this one will sound, but like any flaw in this switch, so any inconsistencies in looping like this, you can hear the spring rattle even further. Next in line, we have our Singa, which is this is the first board that I bought after I saw someone else own one. So I saw a Singa at the Toronto winter meetup, and I was like, oh, I've got to get me one of these. This is my first outsider influenced keyboard. So yeah, I bought this board because I saw someone else with it, and then I had just purchased Creams right, I think almost just a touch, like a week before Nathan Kim made his build. Much better. So I call these new age blacks. And what I mean by that, I mean I call these switches basically, they're like vintage blacks, but like the new version of it. So they break in much quicker. Yeah, like they break in much quicker than Vint blacks do. and they have that kind of sound signature that makes Vint Blacks very special. So if I had to pick a board that's nice and crisp, it would be the Singa. Or it'd be the Creams. So one thing I've noticed, because I own a lot of polycarbonate boards, and we're gonna do a review now, is that Singa did an absolutely wonderful job with how the top piece attaches to the bottom piece. So unlike a lot of other polycarbonate makers, they have these little guide rails here and here, and I really like these. They have these tiny little guide rails here, and these help catch in on matching guide rails on the top piece. I think it gives it a nice tighter fit, gives it less wobble, because this material is kind of flexible. So I wanted this to be an all plastic, like palm memed board, and yeah, I was like, oh yeah, palm stems, that could be a fun idea. But then I put an ABS spacebar, sorry, a PBT spacebar on this, and the spacing is just like a little off, and these walls on the stabilizers are too thick, so it pushes against on both sides and it gets stuck. What I call the guilt trip board. I really wanted a Duck Orion, and then when I couldn't get my hands on one, I was like, well, what's the next best thing? And that, of course, what's my next favorite layout, which is the 75. So I got myself a Duck Octagon. And so I call this, like, this is kind of a regretful build that I've made. Not, like, entirely satisfied with it. So the inherent thing that I was too busy chasing unrealized losses when I built this board. So I liked the silent alpacas a little bit more than these silent Roselios. And then I was like, and I used zeal stabs to try to make it feel better. And I bought the custom weight for the inside as well. It's not here yet, but it's coming. But then I really realized what I really wanted was just the TKL. And so I kind of like don't enjoy this board as much. Kind of a shame, because it is technically a really nice board. So this is a Korean top mount. A problem with this board that I've noticed, and most people complain about it, is that this cool, neat design actually unintentionally makes a lot of noise. So what happens is that even when it's flat, even when you have a mat, and even with these bump-ons, because these bump-ons are soft, this actually gets really close, and you end up creating a small, almost sealed off pocket. But when any sounds resonate from the top to the bottom through this connection, you end up with echo in here. And the echo will come out through the holes because it's not a perfect seal, and you'll hear like a fairly quiet switch resonate even louder. And that's even more obvious when you're missing the inside weight. So this is my most brought to work keyboard, I suppose, because it's the quietest. So this board was when I started finally first getting into making customs for custom reasons. So not making a custom just because, but making a custom with a specific goal in mind. Yeah, man, it's quiet. So I built this for the office to be as quiet as possible. And it does what it does. The only regret I have is that I had to build this twice to make it the way I wanted. So the return would be louder than me pressing the switch at whatever strength. That really taught me the importance of film. Because before that point, I thought films were like, if you don't want your switch to wobble that much. So this is my favorite work board. I bring this to work. It's funny because I thought the RGB because I love polycarbonate as a material. I thought the polycarbonate RGB would be too meme for the office, but turns out all my coworkers think this is the coolest board because it's got RGB. So like all the adults in the office were like, "Ooh, Hugo, that's the coolest board because it glows and everything." I splurged definitely on. This is my most expensive board to date. This is a PC Salamander built with Holy Pandas, of like 3 different types of Holy Pandas. I might desolder them just to put a more consistent Holy Panda in it. Beautiful. So this Salamander, I believe there's a small line flaw. Yeah, I think you guys can see it right there. But it's really minor. It doesn't really bother me. So this is the most expensive board I own. This is like a pretty fun board. And this is the other Salamander. So yeah, this is the other Salamander. Yeah, boy. Oh, Win keyless, and one is Chad. This is the keyboard that she tells you not to be worried about, the Chad 7U with Win keyless, and this is you, the other Salamander. So this is built with vintage black. This is my closest to personal perfection that I ever got. So this is made with double A stock, vintage inverse vint blacks, and then handpicked by Guba a second time, and then lubed and filmed, and built on a carbon fiber plate. This is the gold Salamander with no flaw on the back weight. So this is probably the nicest board I've put together. Carbon fiber is not as flexible as, let's say, the PBT plate. So the PBT plate, you can see like, oh, you can see how much this bends. Right, you can see the whole board like behind my thumb. I hear shake, and this is pretty solid. This is a more whole flex. You can see it flex. It flexes more area. It's acoustic and enthusiast kind of build. So we picked Vint Blacks because they sound nice, obviously. Carbon fiber because I like the sound. And then to top it off, I chose polycarbonate because polycarbonate, I feel, amplifies the sound of a good switch or even a bad switch, but doesn't like change too much of the quality. This is hot swap right here. And that's hot swapped. We went from a tactile to a linear. Just like that. All right, there we go.